on today's Witch Word of the Day, it's an animation spell. So these are enchantments that bring inanimate objects to life. Weaker spells merely cause objects to move and act as though they were alive, but more powerful enchantments appear to actually give them life. This is the description of an animation spell as spoken in Merlin, the series, Kevin.
Okay. So it's like substitutionary locomotion, but different.
Yes. Always back to Disney with you.
You know.
You haven't even read that?
Wait, what are you doing with the book?
So he has the confidence to finish the story.
Hear now the words of the witches.
This is Kevin, and welcome to Words of the Witches, the Charmed podcast that will guide you through the lesser-known published material in the Charmed universe and decide how it fits into the grand narrative of the TV series.
All right, so welcome to Words of the Witches, episode 72. I'm Kevin, your resident Charmed resource.
I'm Sean, and I just love comic books.
And today we have a returning guest. It's Lewis. Hello!
Hello. Thank you for having me back.
Yeah, it's been a while. You had another kid in that time.
Oh my god, did I? All of the days merged into one now. Was he not born back then? Oh,
no.
Wow, okay.
No.
Right, well. Okay, cool. Yeah, so I've had another one. I mean, he's 9 months old now.
It's crazy.
And, oh my god, children are crazy. So now we have 3. We have our own little coven. And it is a lot of energy. I'm not going to lie. It is, there's no rest. I think that's the thing. There's just never any rest. Like, once you've got one to sleep, the other one will wake up. The only way out is through. They'll grow eventually, and then they'll be off to school, and they'll be someone else's problem for 8 hours of the day.
Just for funsies, you need to go secretly have a child with somebody else, and then you have the Charmed brood.
Yeah, okay, this is a good idea. As long as I don't have to raise that one. Then you have a backup in case.
Yeah. But still, like, world's greatest bisexual dad. Like, that's awesome. That makes me happy.
Thank you.
We did have poll results to go over.
This one, we had to decide which Rennek was sexiest from which era. I remember.
Yeah.
And I said 60s, like James Dean looking Rennek.
You said 50s.
Oh, 50. Sorry.
Yes. And Lewis sent me his. He likes the current version.
Yeah, he's kind of like moody, and his hair's a little longer. I don't know, there was something about it. And a bit of a tortured soul in his eyes.
Oh, yeah. People judge me because I liked the 70s one. I mean, it is definitely different. I think I like facial hair. What can I say? I don't know. But let's see what the I only did this on Instagram. I didn't do it on Twitter or anything. Just Instagram for this one. So 50s got 24 votes. 77% liked that one the best. 23% said no. Then for 60s, he had 7 votes for hot, 24%, and 22 votes for not, 76%. So I think he's the lowest of all of them.
Right.
But my 70s guy barely won. He got 8 votes for hot instead of 7 votes.
Wow.
So 26%. And then the 80s, Michael Jackson Rennek. When I checked last time, it was like 50-50, but more people did say hot. They have 20 votes for hot, 65%, and 11 votes for not. And then the winner is the current Rennek, 26 votes, 84%.
So I'm pretty standard, fine.
But you know, it also was like the closest on his face picture that I had of that time. You know, it's very like Dimitri from Anastasia, very Colin Farrell. You know, I get it.
Yeah.
Here we go. Silence. Let's do the Hear Now the Words of the Witches, the finale comic of season 9. So this is season 9, issue 24, The Power of 300, published October 3rd, 2012. Oh, on October 3rd, he asked me what day it was. It's October 3rd. But it's written by Paul Ruditis, art by Rubine, coloring by John Hunt, letters by Jim Campbell, and edited by Matt Rogers. Yeah, David Seidman, another one of his covers. We have everybody in a line. So we got Phoebe, Piper, Paige, Prue / Patience, Coop, Cole, Henry, and Daryl, with Leo flying above with the sword and wings. Do we like this cover?
I love this cover. It's giving it's so war vibes, isn't it? And it's like we love a good magical battle. Who doesn't?
Yeah.
I think is this the first time that Prue / Patience? Oh no, it's not the first time she's on the cover, is it?
Well, I think it's the first time we see her face.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And also, you know, Paige has got some, like, I don't know what this is, some sort of orb punch ready to go, which is quite nice.
Yeah, and they all got their weapons, and Coop's got his bow and arrow, and yeah, it's really neat.
And it's quite nice. I feel like the men never really get to fight that much, like in any of the big final battles, really, do they? They're just like, here are the kids, get out. Which I guess is like, I guess is the point with the show. But it's quite nice that they're kind of roped in for this one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the men got a good run in this run. They got to do a lot, especially Leo.
They do. I love
Leave
it.
the pacifists at the door.
And everybody looks like themselves in this picture too, which is nice.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so this is Daryl fighting on the first panel, right?
Correct.
Because he doesn't have the pink Jean Grey powers anymore. I'm very perturbed. I liked his Jean Grey power.
Yeah, it changes color. I don't know.
Yeah. So we see Daryl. He's like, call on the winged air support, Leo. Can't cover the skies alone. And then we see Leo and his little, like, daddy wife beater flying by. He's like, get ready, Prue. I'm leading them your way. And Prue says, you set them up and I'll take them down. And then below, this is this Coop and who's this other guy?
This is my biggest gripe of this whole issue.
Oh, no.
That's supposed to be Henry. Are you kidding me?
Oh, no.
Are you kidding me? Yes, it's supposed to be Henry because they call him Henry throughout the later on in the book. I'm like, oh my gosh, he looks like a Puerto Rican teenager. Like, this is not Henry whatsoever.
No,
but sure,
it's not the right color at all.
I was so mad.
Okay.
But anyway, that's supposed to be him.
So Coop and Henry are fighting, and Coop are not fighting each other, fighting with each other. These soldiers keep coming, and Henry apparently says it's a lot easier using my magic on targets that don't move. And I love this little panel. We have the porny Professor X. He's like, when I decided to be a headmaster of a school for the magically gifted, I imagined a somewhat more peaceful life. And this lady's like, really? This is exactly what I dreamed of when I became a librarian. And she's using like a magical whip. I don't know what kind of library she was going to work at.
Well, I think that's supposed to be Bailey too. Like, everybody looks a little weird.
Oh, that's Bailey?
Yeah, which is that librarian chick in the comic books. But here it looks like Chevy Chase and Sarah Palin. But sure.
Yeah.
It really does, though. So on the next panel, Elise has an afro. And she's like, it's in here somewhere. I shouldn't have brought so many seed packs. And then Prue says, Leo says 90% of magic is preparation.
That's Tyler.
Oh, that's Tyler?
Yeah.
I thought it was Prue.
No, that's Tyler.
Tyler has bad hair. It's preparation. The other 10% is being organized. And she's like, got it.
Ooh, what a page.
What a page. I got through that somehow.
Wow. Let me take you on a double spread. So the battle continues. So Elise is throwing up some magical seeds into the air and says, eat plants. And I kind of feel like for a woman that edits a newspaper, they could have given her a better line than eat plants, but never mind. Oh my God. And then that's the next line. Oh my God. That literally just proves that I skim read this earlier. So I could have written this myself. So she goes on to say, you'd think a newspaper editor could come up with a better catchphrase than eat plants. But then the plants start to grow. And Tyler says, who cares what you say when you can do that? It's proper Jack and the Beanstalk vibes. This kind of shoots up high enough to get to Elise. capturing one of the baddies, and Leo is there with his sword and says, "Nice job, Elise," as I'm sure he then cuts him up. And then we have this kind of like double panel where there are no words, but maybe some things for our onomatopoeia later, where everyone's just having a really good old fight, but then you can kind of see off to the right, the girls are kind of at the orb, if that's what we're calling it, this kind of dome thing that they can't get in.
Yeah.
And then we go over and have a little look at what they're doing. So I think this is Phoebe saying, as much fun as I'm having playing orb ball with Paige, it's time to accept that she can't get through. So we can kind of see like Paige is like trying to orb her way in, and she can't. And Piper is saying there has to be a way in. And as Paige starts rematerializing, she says, "I really thought that would work. Just standing next to this thing makes me feel more powerful." Phoebe says, "I guess it's just stronger than us." And Piper says, "Maybe we'd do it." And Piper is, I mean, spoiler alert, but I feel like Piper is really the wise one in this. I'm saying it now so that you can kind of notice them as we go through. But Piper's like, "Maybe we're doing this wrong. Stop fighting it against the magic and channel it. Don't try to orb through the dome, Paige, orb into it." And then in the next panel, it's starting to work.
Ta-da.
Ta-da.
So, page 3. They are in the dome, and it's like this space, starry, like sky with like a dance floor, chessboard, checkerboard thing. But Paige is like, the strength of the magic out there is nothing compared to in here. So it's a very strong source of power for everybody, and it's giving everybody power boosts. And so they look around and they're like, "Wait, Phoebe's not here. Where is she?" Piper's like, "Where are you?" And then she's like, "Up here." And she's floating along. She's like, "There's so much magic bursting here. I can, it's bursting out of me. Can you feel it? Ooh." And they turn and they see a horde of baddie people. I guess they're just enemies. We don't really know what they're called. Automatons, just husks, or just generic superhero looking buff people. But this page is actually going to be our power play moment. Power play. We're going to talk about levitation. So levitation is the ability to propel oneself into the air and move through the air slightly. It's primarily a defensive power used to avoid attacks. While levitating, maintaining one's concentration is paramount, because if you lose it, you can like fall to the ground. But levitation also comes with enhanced agility automatically.
But does levitation always lead to flight in the end?
Flight is an advanced levitation, but it doesn't always lead to that. So let's just talk about all the pieces. So you can levitate in a couple different ways. There's hovering, where users suspend themselves above the ground in one place. So they can't like float. They just sit above the ground. If you hover through levitation, you can go at any height. But white lighters can hover too, but they're limited by only a few feet. And when they hover, it can be with or without orbs. Rising, which is like if you're like knocked back on the floor, you can just like get up like that. Like a quick rise. It's like what the Source does when he's possessing Shane or anybody else. He's like, "Here I am." So that's the power to like rise immediately upright when falling after a fall. It's normally a reflex, instinctual reaction. You can leap. This is where you can reach tall heights with one leap sufficient to cross like a 2-lane road. You can use it as a form of transportation, even like banshees do. The downside is that you have to periodically make contact with the ground so that you can make another leap to do that. It's like Spider-Man when he's jumping around the buildings. And there's gliding and floating. So when you travel through the air short or long distances without the feet ever touching the ground, they're essentially the same thing, except floating is only a few inches above the ground, while gliding can be at any height. That's the only difference. Otherwise, they're the same. And so essentially, gliding and floating are hovering with the added ability to move around the space instead of just above in one spot. There's selective levitation, where you can levitate things by touching it. So you can touch something and make it levitate with you.
Is that what Phoebe had?
Yeah, she had all of the ones we talked about so far. everything she can do with the levitation.
Because there was this one where she was meditating and levitating in season 6
With a pillow.
With the pillow, and I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
blooper. But it wasn't a blooper.
It's not a blooper because if
cool.
she's in contact with it, it can levitate with her.
Interesting.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, we're learning things.
Yeah.
And then if you get like very advanced, this is where you can get to flight. And that's, full air maneuvering at any breathable height for extended periods of time over any distance. And Phoebe has done this with power boosts like here, or when she was in Limbo, she had more of that flight capability, or when she got the Dragon Warlock power, but that was somebody else's power. And there's also projective levitation, where you can make people and inanimate objects levitate without physical contact. Although you might think, how is that different than telekinesis?
True.
Because it's essentially the same thing, but I was thinking about it, and I think telekinesis adds force, where levitation is removing the force, removing that gravitational, to make it lighter. And do you remember Ramus, the elder that was transferring his power to Kevin, Witches in Tights? He told Phoebe, because his powers were foresight and hovering, that both were mental abilities, means that they're kind of linked. There's a link somewhere in there between premonition and levitation.
Interesting.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there you go. Power play.
I do want to say on this page, while we're on it, my favorite part of this whole thing is apparently when they step on these tiles, they light up. And in my mind, they also play a sound. Boop. Boop. And I've shared with you that I am attracted to blue-skinned people in X-Men. And now we have a whole flock of blue, green, and magenta people, scantily clad, coming at me. I'm not going to be able to fight. I'm just going to stand there looking.
Yeah, it's dangerous for somebody like Sean.
Yeah, especially like this green guy over on the left, or like this magenta girl like next to him. Like, these people are hot.
Yeah.
All right, next up we have our three sisters, and Piper says, looks like we're gonna see just how much stronger our power is inside this dome. And Phoebe says, let's kick some ass. Let's see, this is Piper says, gonna be hard to get back together, and I scatter your fucking orbs. Oh, that's Piper. That's Paige. Your orbs around the world. And she like orb shatters him, which is pretty crazy. And then we see Phoebe with this very sexy regular skinned guy. I didn't see him in the crowd, but she's like, they don't have any memories or emotions to turn back on them. My magic's useless. Can't I ever catch a break? And then she says, oh, well, use what you got. And she kicks him with her leg. That kickboxing lesson is coming back.
Yeah, so she was trying to do psychic reflection on him, like she did in Morality Bites Back.
I have a question.
Yes.
And Kevin, I feel like this is one for you.
Okay.
So I think this is the first time. So Paige's powers obviously come from the whole White Lighter side, which is pacifist. So she's not really fighting power. I know she can obviously throw objects and kill people, but that's kind of like a choice rather than something that powers innately do. But this whole orb scattering and like just basically blowing someone up and scattering them, that feels like not very White Lightery.
Yeah, it's not very White Lighter. It would be an elder move for sure. Yeah, just a little bit more mean-spirited than we would have ever seen Paige before.
I mean, he's got to die. I just feel like it's like, with Piper, like, her powers, like, yeah, we know she blows people up all the time, but with Paige's, they come from, like, a pacifist place, so it's just a bit, for me, I'm like, oh, it's weird that you can use your powers to kill, even though she throws knives all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. And
I had a similar issue because when she blows him up, she doesn't know yet that they're not real, that they're basically golems. So, like, because they are, it's okay, but she didn't know that. So it's very bad.
Right, so more sexy green people are running towards Piper, who says, you want a taste of our power? Try this. And then the next panel, she literally, like, blows up, like, I'm guessing what is about 15 of them in one fell swoop, because all of their powers are advanced right now. Piper Smash, says Paige. Look, this place is changing around us. Maybe we're having some kind of effect on it, says Phoebe. So now the disco floor is gone temporarily, and it's kind of becoming a bit of a forest. And then, and what I think is probably going to be my favorite panel of the episode is Phoebe kind of grabs Paige and Piper and flies them away. Come on, I saw something during the fight, she says, and then sort of looks like she's sort of leaving the planet.
Fly with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. So is this part of this whole touch levitation thing that you're telling me about? That
yeah,
she's touching them, they're weightless, rather than she's flying and like dragging their heavy asses with both hands. Okay, right. You've explained a lot of new things to me today.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah.
So then the next page, we see where Phoebe has taken them, and she's like, there, it's Leo's sword, and it's inside the grimoire on like a pentacle platform. And then Piper's like, no, wait, because she's flying right at it. She's like, I'm gonna go. And then Phoebe flies to it, but then she's like, I guess I hit this dome. Oh, well, it's blocked me. And then Rennek appears. He's like, ha 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 ha, nice try. The combined strength of the Imperial Sword and the Grimoire repels all magic that isn't under my control. So your magic is useless against my magic. Tee-hee-hee.
Would you like my random observation for this page?
Okay.
In the upper left, we see this guy in this very sexy shirt where there's like no sides to it, so you see his skin. And this man in a suit's like, I know how to stop him. I'm going to grab his nipple.
How is this relevant to whatever we're watching? I think it might be some kind of hologram that Rennek left on, like play when he's spying on the world. But that's about the only thing I could think of.
On the next page, Rennek continues, there's no way the three of you can even get close to it. And then we see Daryl is still giving orders. He says, Squad A, break off and find a way inside the dome. The charmed ones may need reinforcements. Squad B, prepare to launch the counteroffensive. And then Prue says, that's Prue, right? Not Tyler?
That's Prue.
Prue says, looks like someone's found his calling. And Daryl says, not a chance. As soon as this is over, I'm going back to my family and normal police work. And then Leo dramatically flies by ahead. Prue, Daryl, I need some help up here. And then we see these sexy men people are all jumping into one man. It's not what it sounds like. Just go with it here. They're all combining into one huge sexy blue man. And he goes to fight Leo. Leo says, I don't think my little sword can take this guy on. And then somebody off panel says, Leo, clear the way.
Is that a euphemism for something?
I think so.
Continuing, boom, we see an explosion on this big blue man. Nice job, Glennis. You got him, says Prue. And then Glennis is here with a cannon that she just shot at this big blue man. And she says, I'm pretty good with wielding a charmed cannon, if I do say so myself. And then Daryl notices that it's falling out of the sky and everyone runs for cover. They realize it's coming their way. And then thwam? Is that the sound? Thwam?
Yeah,
I'm guessing he sort of... I feel sorry for Paige here because she was trying like to get in and like she had to really sort of believe that she was the thing to get through the thing. And they just basically drop a heavy blue man on it and it sort of clears the way. I'm like, that's not fair. And Leo says, you two get in there before it closes. I'll hold things down out here as Prue kind of makes a run for it.
I think I can explain that for you, your problem with this. The thing with the man breaking a hole.
Oh, right. I'm like, why was I getting concerned about who said what?
He can go through there because he is created by Rennek's magic.
Ah.
And
Look
so
at you answering all the plot holes.
Yeah. Next page, we see that Prue and Leo have broken into the crack in the dome, and they're like, it's like a forest area. But Prue's like, Piper, Phoebe, calling everybody Paige. And then Leo's like, I don't think they'll hear you because we're in like Rennek's domain now, and he's probably not going to make it so they can't hear you. And then she's like, why is there a forest in the middle of here? She's like, maybe he thinks we'll get lost in the woods. But she takes her crossbow, her magical crossbow with all the arrows that hit whatever they want, and starts roaming the forest. But she's on a mission. Leo's like kind of just like being a negative Nancy over here, but Prue's like, nope, we're gonna do it. I'm gonna find the source of the magic.
We return back to, it looks like Rennek has trapped our three sisters and he's forced them to watch what's going on outside. We see Daryl, Coop, and Henry, I'm guessing. The teenage Latin American.
Oh my gosh, it's
and
so bad.
He says, you may be stronger here, but you'll never win against me when I control the very environment around you. And this is heavy because he's got them tied up like Salem witch style. Like they're tied up to posts. And he says, your friends and family fight valiantly, but they'll never win as long as I can create an endless supply of soldiers. Phoebe says, you won't win, Rennek. I figured you out. You can control the magic. You can send an army of weak-willed people to attack us back in San Francisco, but you can't control us or our friends. That's why you need an army of soulless automatons, but there's a flaw in your plan. I remember in art school, one of my teachers told me never draw like the individual teeth, and I think this picture shows you why.
Yeah.
And then we see Phoebe says, your army has nothing to fight for. Rennek says, they fight for me with the magic I control. That's enough. And Piper says, after all these years, you still haven't learned that magic isn't about having the most power. And then Rennek says, oh, hush. And he ties up Piper's mouth. But Piper still says, it's about how you use that power. She says it with her mind.
Oh.
And continuing on to the next page, we hear her think. It's about finesse. So we are now back outside, and things are changing in this fight. So Coop says, hey, you've really got a handle on your magic, Henry. And this is how we find out that this person is Henry. It's not. You think that maybe they gave the artist like the wrong picture? And,
I don't know.
This is consistently what they think Henry looks like. So maybe they gave them the wrong picture.
I don't know. Really, it's egregious. It's really bad. It's like a whole different person.
Anyway, not Henry says, I didn't change the soldier into a plant. I didn't change any of them, as they're kind of realizing this war is changing. Tyler has got his little flamethrower going, and Elise is standing behind, and she says, you can turn down your flame. These flowers aren't all that threatening the guys, are they turning into flowers and sand and water and everything?
Yeah.
Nox says, now this is more my kind of fight. And the woman with the whip says it takes all the fun out of it if their bodies turn to water and sand. And Daryl, from his little bunker somewhere, says, the soldiers seem to be reverting back to their natural form. One last sweep should finish them off. And then in the next panel, he's jumped up, turned his back, and his hands are glowing as he says, cancel that. Here comes another wave.
This is Piper's doing. She is doing this new ability, what her powers would grow to, which is molecular reversion. So she's bringing them back to the state they started in, because Rennek touched all these things and turned them into these demony things, and she's bringing them back to the original source material.
Oh, I love this power.
Oh, I did not get that.
I wish we could have had a whole season with them having this kind of power.
Right. Because Rennek says, impressive, Piper, but I bet I can create new soldiers faster than you can turn their molecules back.
See, I saw that line, and I thought he was just saying faster than you could destroy them. I didn't realize she was using her power on that last one.
Yeah. And these are all people that are outside of the dome, too. So she's not even really in her area. They're outside of the dome, and she's like using her some kind of telepathic molecular reversion. A little bit of a stretch, but I'll take it. I mean, it makes a little bit of sense to me. And then we see all these thought bubbles. And it says, Piper, Paige, can you hear me? And then Piper's like, Phoebe, how did you cast the power of one spell? Remember last time we talked about the power of one and how I thought it's exactly the same thing as the power of three anyway? I have new thoughts on that, which I'm going to get into in canonical. She's like, I didn't cast a spell. I just heard your thoughts. You know, I think we can read each other's minds now. So pretty much this is because the power boost is amping them up. They think that this is something they could grow to too, that they can read each other's minds when they are all powerful like that. So this panel of the three of them, a you look familiar moment.
It's funny, she's so familiar to me, though. Reminds me of this old stray that used to hang outside my loft.
Familiars. That's what I'm looking for.
Have we met before? You look familiar.
Now, it's not exactly drawn from anything specific, but it is inspired by, I believe, the Sense and Sensibility TV Guide ad, where Phoebe was her season 5 picture, and then Paige had her mouth taped, so it's close enough to me. The three of them are still talking while they watch the minions come by Rennek. Let's try a little non-verbal power of 3. And so the three of them close their eyes, and they say the power of 3 will set us free in their minds, silently. Oh, and this is our rhyme time moment, our first rhyme time for the day.
Should we try a spell?
Why not? Let's try a spell.
In the wind, I sing this rhyme. Bring death before me, before my time.
You've really got to lay off the rhyming, Prue.
Wonderful. Witty, but wordy.
I did the rhyme. I will do the time. Good night.
The power of 3 will set us free. The power of 3 will set us free. The power of 3 will set us free. Ta-da!
So, just to point out, these superhero people, they move really slow because the sisters had this whole conversation and Rennek turned around and they're all in the same position from the first to the second panel.
It's that timing comic book no-no like we talked about.
I think it was just the artist like, I'm just going to be lazy and just put the same things in the same position. So on the next page, we see zap! And suddenly the sisters are free and Piper says, what I said earlier, Rennek, sometimes magic is about power. And then Paige thinks we need to spell fast. So the sisters start their spell. This is a rhyme time, Kevin.
You got it.
Should we try a spell?
Why not? Let's try a spell.
We call on the forces of matter, time, and space, on the elements of the circle that bind our worlds, on the magic of the Hollowell line through generations, on the powers of our family and friends with us now. Unite this magic in the power of 3, unite this magic with our solemn decree, to end Rennek's influence over us all, reconnect the worlds, make the barriers fall. And Rennek looks all sly. He says, nice attempt. But like I said, your magic is useless against me here.
And so then, it looks like they kind of almost about to explode, but we know that's not the case. But clearly this spell is reflected back and puts them in pain. And Rennek says, but it's quite useful for me to turn against you. And then we see Leo sort of flying into the rescue, and he exclaims, it ends today, Rennek, once and for all. And then we see Leo kind of bounce back off because Rennek says, sorry, Leo, even your little bit of magic can't get through. And he is thrown off in pain, drops his sword, and is basically rendered on his knees. And Rennek says, I ended it, Leo. The forces of good and evil no longer at war. I was even kind enough to let you live. Why couldn't you let it go? Why couldn't you let the people of this world choose their own destiny? And Leo says they did choose Rennek. They chose to fight back, both the powerful and the powerless, even without supernatural guidance. I feel like that was quite a wordy one. Quite a wordy exchange for a comic book.
But they were once long-lost lovers, so they have to get their final goodbyes in, The next page, it's Rennek still torturing Leo. Your pitifully small band of soldiers, it's not enough to save the world. Ha 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 ha. And Leo's like, give it time, Rennek. It's only the beginning. The meek can still inherit the earth. And then we see the sisters still being tortured by their own spell. And we see Prue standing behind them with her crossbow. And Rennek still goes on. He's talking. He's like, the meek are useless. Haven't I proven that yet? Even when the meek are as powerful as your 3 little Halliwell sisters. And Prue's like, bitch, it's 4! There's 4 sisters! Your reign ends now! And she grabs the Imperial sword out of the book, out of the grimoire, and it goes whoosh! And then she becomes very Terminator 2 here, and her arm becomes the sword, and her leg becomes the book as being absorbed into her body. And she says a spell. Another rhyme time moment.
You really gotta lay off the rhyming, Prue.
Darklighter powers will now fade to black as the realms of light take the magic back. I claim these artifacts and all they do, and I shall use them to vanquish you. I had to say both for people because we haven't said that in a while. So
True.
And then we see Rennek kind of like in a ball of fire.
And I missed that the first time that like she's going all T2, like you said, because they say something about it later, and I was like, when did that happen? But it's right there. It's happening right there. So then we see this very pretty picture of Prue. She's standing in a little dress with a tattooed arm, and like it seems like the world is changing around her because it's part forest, but everything else is like cloudy flames. And she says, rhyme time.
I did the rhyme. I will do the time.
Return the magic to its rightful place. Reconnect the realms in this hollowed space. Alter the history of recent times to cover up all humanity's crimes. Those touched by magic will not remember, but they'll never be allowed to forget.
What a nice way to make sure that everyone forgets that they have powers, which could have been a huge awakening moment for the whole world, where they come to accept that magic exists. But no, we're going back to everyone's going to forget about recent episodes.
Yeah.
Issues.
And it's just weird because it's like, forget, but no, don't forget.
Yeah, I just wish that last line rhymed. Everything rhymes so well. And then she says, will not remember, be allowed to forget.
Very wordy, very clunky.
We're what I imagine to be a few hours later, maybe. We're in the Halliwell Manor, or is it? So Piper is saying, how did the magic keeping your soul in that body get through Renek's barrier? And Prue says, new world, new rules. It's why you couldn't see my soul anymore. Guess this body is mine now. I like it, except for the constantly changing tattoos. So this is now we know those tattoos, they're moving, they're alive, they have a mind of their own, they're spelling things out. And from somewhere up in the ceiling, we don't see Phoebe, but we hear her say, on the bright side, you'll always have something new to read when you get bored. Phoebe is on the ceiling in the next panel. She cannot get down, apparently. It's very reminiscent of season 2, actually.
Yeah.
Phoebe, get down, says Piper. Are you kidding, says Phoebe. I can fly, not jump, not leap, fly. I'm never coming down. And then in the next panel, she starts coming down to the floor and says, or I'm coming down right now. Guess I can only fly for brief amounts of time. And then Prue explains, the dome magic let you tap into the point your powers will grow to. It's going to take some time to reach that level naturally. And then Daryl comes over and says, Prue, it was great seeing you again, even if you don't look like yourself. But I need to get back to my family. And in comes an overexcited Paige running over saying, oh, let me. I want to try something. And then Daryl, already covered in those blue lights, says, wait, Paige, I have to. And that's it, he's gone. And Prue says, you couldn't have let him say goodbye to everyone. And then Paige says, sorry, I got excited. I never orbed a person halfway around the world without touching them or calling out to them. And Prue says, why do I expect to call any minute from Daryl telling us he's in Siberia? Everyone's getting very carried away with their new expanded powers.
Yeah, and so it continues on. We see Leo holding Piper, and she says, are you sure those wings won't be coming back? And then Leo says, when the Imperial sword became part of Prue, it broke the spell over me. So he's like, good thing though, because I was getting cold with my sleeves off all the time. So this is sad. Leo no longer has the wings. They're gone. But that panel is also a you look familiar moment.
Have we met before? You look familiar.
This was drawn completely from Astral Monkey, season 2, episode 20, when they have a little exchange in the kitchen and they hug like that. It's in reverse. They like to flip it, but it's still from that episode. And then Prue comes over and she's like, I'm glad some good came from out of this. Almost makes up for the fact that I have an evil book of magic in me. Leo's like, but you saved the world and defeated my oldest enemy. You were our savior, Prue. Love it. And then Paige and Piper come over. Kudos that you're still around. And then Piper's like, I think we should go relieve Dad of his babysitting duties. And so I guess Coop... Oh, this creepy picture of Coop with his teeth.
See, don't draw the teeth.
It's creepy. Yeah. But he's like, see you at home. And Henry looks probably the most Henry all issue, even though it's not the greatest, but it's Henry-ish. Don't stay out too late and love you. So I guess they all leave. I don't know if Paige orbs them away or what, but I guess that's what their plan is. And then Paige and Phoebe are walking up the stairs and you hear, knock, knock. And they're like, who could that be?
Yeah, this proves our theory. They knew what Henry looked like. They still drew him like a teenager through the rest of this with the wrong color skin.
Mm-hmm.
So Phoebe opens the door and says, Cole, nice of you to show up now that the fighting's over. What are you doing here? And he's like, I am a messenger sent from the heavens. And she's like, no, seriously. He's like, who is that? Why is that so hard to believe? So what? You've been forgiven for past crimes? The elders have allowed you to move on, Cole? And Cole says, not yet, but they did appreciate my sacrifice and allowing Prue to return to Earth instead of using the power to escape limbo myself. Did he have anything to do with that? What's he referring to?
Because remember when Prue died and he said that he was organizing the people here to kind of cut a hole in limbo so he can escape? He let her go through there instead of him. And that's what allowed Paige to heal her.
Mm-hmm. And then Prue says, if you've come to tell me the elders want me to release this body, I don't think that's an option. And Cole says it's not, but that isn't why I'm here. The elders were impressed by your spell, so everyone touched by Rennek's magic won't remember the past 6 months, but can't forget it either. And Prue says, it would have been too easy. People had magic and they misused it. They need to remember that in case magic is revealed to the world again. For most people, the past few months will be kind of a dream, just outside the grasp of their memories. And Cole says, like I said, nice touch. The elders also want me to fill you in on your new role in the universe.
And then the new role is explained. So, Cole says, when you absorbed the Imperial Sword in the Grimoire, you became the conduit that holds the realms together. You're now effectively the caretaker, the connection between the realms. You can never leave this place. Prue says, so I've discovered. And then Cole reveals, I've been sent to be your messenger. I can move through the realms, travel to the heavens or the underworld, visit San Francisco from time to time. Any help you need, the elders said after a few centuries of service, I might even earn my right to move on. And then Phoebe interjects, wait a minute, you're back in our lives? And then Cole reassures her, only if I'm welcome. I can stay away unless Prue needs me to see you, since she won't be able to go to you herself. Otherwise, I'm bound here too. And then Prue says, I'd appreciate the company. This big old place will be very empty with just me living in it. And then Paige says, being stuck here isn't so bad. It does have all the comforts of home. And then Piper tries to reassure her by saying, and if you get bored, you can always change it to look like something else you always did want to live in a loft. We move on to the moment that we've come to love at the end of every season. We notice that front door is open and Prue says, no, I like this place. It's just like home. Right down to Phoebe forgetting to close the front door. And I'm imagining that she waves her hand, although for some reason I feel like she's clicking her fingers as the doors magically close. Why? It's a nice day. Besides...
Yeah, and the final page, we have a caption that says, it's not like you're going to have any nosy neighbors stopping by all the way out here. And we see where that big purple dome was is now a Halliwell Manor sitting at the nexus of the all. Desert, nothing else.
What a great end to a season. I love that. I love that touch.
Yeah.
I feel like it's very charmed. You know, it's like it couldn't be easy for Prue, could it? We just, where it's like with Prue, it's kind of like you're always like left wanting a little bit more, and it's never quite right. Like she dies, we never get to see a picture again. She never comes back. Then finally, we get her back in the comics, and we go through all this. It's like, yeah, you've kind of got her back, but she can't ever leave. But you can come visit.
Yeah.
Where it's like she can't like live that life that she probably wanted to get on with. She's so
tragic. It's such a tragic character.
Yeah.
I think they're gonna fix it anyway, though. I don't think she's gonna be here for long, so I'm not concerned. I'm whatever.
Okay. Well, all right. Thinking. Good. Okay. So, what are our overall thoughts about this issue?
I loved it. I really I think this is one of the best ones. You've got this kind of like battle going on, and I'm a sucker for like power advancements in general. So getting to kind of like imagine what their powers would kind of grow to, and kind of getting them to the point where, because I feel like throughout the comics, like they've all had a bit of a power advancement already in this season, and we're kind of like what 9 years in, no, like even more. They've been like at this for about 10 years in the comics, so to think that their powers have even further to go in advancement is like crazy. But I love like kind of like even the things you explain, like Piper's doing it, she's kind of turning them back to what they were originally. I'm like, oh, clever. They're kind of like being able to say the spells just thinking them, and they still work.
Yeah.
That's great. I love all this power advancement. I love what Prue becomes in the end as well. Like, that's quite nice. It's kind of like, okay, well, you can't be charmed because there can only be 3. Then it was like, oh, you know what? The magic's going to be sucked out from the world, so you will be the charmed one. And now it's kind of like, well, you can't, you don't fit in, but it's kind of like, you know what, you're all powerful in a different way. So I feel like that's quite a nice wrap up for that character, right?
Yeah. I like that she is someone you can't really mess with. Like, she's still a pivotal role in the world and in the magical community.
Yeah, and I think it's even quite a nice moment for Cole in this, where it's kind of like, you know what, you're lingering around anyway, like, we'll put you to work. And he's kind of like, he gets to be involved in it. There's a way to keep Cole around, but not interfere too much with Phoebe's life, which is quite nice. And I just love, where it's like with these comics, they really understood the subject matter to the point of the doors closing at the end of the season. Love it.
Yeah.
Unlike season 6.
Oh, we don't talk about season 6 ending.
Blasphemy.
They clearly were having a hard time.
They're like, that'll do, pig. That'll do. I'm like, no, it does not do. Thank you very much.
Oh, actually, with you explaining bloopers away for me, Kevin, season 6, I was thinking about this the other day, when Leo can kind of like call for a mirror, which I just don't think he should have been able to do. Do you have an explanation for that for me?
Pretty much was essentially telekinetic orbing it.
Yeah.
No explanation for that. No, that's not his power.
Yeah. Made no sense.
Oh, Sean, how did you like this issue?
I liked it overall, but just like my mom, I do have a big butt for the comics as a whole, for what we've read. I wish some of the writing was just a little bit better. Like, for example, when they're like, oh, Prue and Cole are going to go off together. And then the next time we see them, like, they're just not together. They just kind of separate or something. So there are a lot of little exciting dead ends throughout this whole 24-issue run. So I would get excited for certain things and we wouldn't have any follow through. But I do like where it all has come to a head. I like that we got to see Rennek, who has now become like one of my top tier kind of charmed villains. I like that we get to see like this nexus of all, and we get a cool explanation for like what it is and why nobody knew it was there. And it even ties into what was her name? Nina. Yeah. So this is a really nice, like, well put together 24-issue run. I was just thinking while we were talking, I think the one last thing that would have really tied this together is to say, like, maybe the sisters never put up a picture of Prue because something was pulling them away from that, because she was still there. Like magically something was stopping them.
Yeah. I do agree with that. Although I have an explanation for that Cole thing that you have a problem with.
Okay.
When the magic switched in the world, that's when all the dead were like being trapped in that limbo area. So he disappeared from the earthly plane from Prue's life. Yeah. So he was just kind of like, he could no control of it. He was taken into that limbo area. And that's where she's like, oh, there you are.
I imagine there's going to be a big consequence to that. And they just like fixed it right away. Like, oh, he disappeared.
Right. Yeah. Not a quick way, easy way out. I get it.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. I read this when I was like getting ready to go to bed, and I'm like, oh, I hate this issue. But then I read it again when I was wide awake. I'm like, hey, I actually enjoy this issue. So it proves that sleep is very important. But I do find some of the art in here to be very scary and very off-putting. And the spells kind of suck. So maybe that was a factor of like, this issue could have done more, but overall, it's still enough to satisfy me. I do like a lot of the things they put in here, and I do like the power enhancements, and yeah. And I love that they, keep the traditions alive. So next is Put That in My Canonical Hat.
Canonical.
Do we have any canonical errors?
Well, Henry's been recast.
Yeah, that was bad.
I do wish we got more. I know it's not quite canonical, but I wish we got more with like Leo and the wings, like a reason as to why that happened, other than it was just a happy mistake.
Yeah. It's like, well, my wings are linked to the sword, and now that the sword is like in Prue, I guess she gets the wings somewhere in there.
I mean, I've already said it, but I do feel like the whole being able to turn orbing into kind of an offensive power is not in keeping with the whole pacifist nature of that kind of magic.
Yeah,
true.
It's funny because we talked earlier about how Rennek was using that crystal to kind of possess Knox and possess Bailey, and we thought for sure that they would be part of his plan, but I guess it was only that one time and literally meant nothing.
Yeah.
But I did want to talk about my Power of 3 thing. Here's my theory. Okay.
All right.
So I believe that the Power of 3 always had the potential to form a telepathic link, because we see it in My Three Witches when they can use their connection to travel to Piper's pocket dimension from their pocket dimension. And in Sense and Sensibility, Piper reasoned they were like communicating easier and developing a sixth sense because their other senses were down. So maybe these other ones were heightened. So they had like they could communicate more telepathically that way. So I'm thinking that the link emerges as a use of the power of 1. And now I do believe that there is a distinction between the power of 3 and the power of 1, while they are the same thing. So I believe the power of 1 is a heightened state of the power of 3 itself, and it's the most intense and truest union that the power of 3 has. This is what they did when they created a portal to Abraxas in Witch Trial, to the astral plane. And I think in most cases, they're not adept at accessing it because it's so above their normal everyday state of consciousness. They have to have a power up to get to it. Phoebe, because she has a sensory perception, a psychic instinct to those things, she would probably be the most proficient at it. But even then, I think you need to have, something like Equinox or be at the nexus of the all or through a spell to get that power up.
But why call it power of 1? Why not power of 3 plus or something
right,
like that?
I know, because it's essentially 3 people being one unit. But yeah, I do like it should be plus. I think that would be better. Make more sense and less confusing. And then I still don't understand the reasons behind not seeing Prue's soul. They mentioned some stuff in here, but I don't get it. I don't understand why she says the world changed.
Well, is it more that in that moment where she's absorbing the book and the sword, she's absorbing the body as well? She's just like, I'm just going to own everything now. And it's all just going to be in this new body, like everything, the soul, the body, the books, the swords, all the magic, it's all just going to be in one sealed up new thing.
But they didn't recognize her soul like issues ago, like 2 issues ago, and that's why I'm just not. It's not computing in my brain.
What about if we say she was so powerful she welded herself to the body without realizing it?
I mean, I know we do get into Patience stuff in season 10, and it might be explained there. I can't remember.
Like, how would they be able to see her soul if they weren't magical at the time?
Yeah, and that's what I thought too. But Daryl couldn't see her soul either, and he was. Tips for future White Lighters.
Oh, we're really just messengers? Guides? Think of us as guardian angels for good witches.
Tips for future White Lighters.
I was out being a force of good in the universe.
What's the moral of this issue?
I mean, I think Piper, literally says it in black and white, doesn't she? She's like, it's not about power, it's about how you use the power. It's about finesse.
Yeah.
I mean, that to me is the moral of the story. It's not about the power you have, it's about how you use it. As with Charmed, good life lessons for everyone. Don't think about, what you have or don't have or how much power someone else has. Think about what you have and what you can do with it.
Beautiful.
There we go, guys.
Mm-hmm.
It's a beautiful lesson for life.
Yeah.
Mine's actually very similar. It just came from a different place. Mine was focused on Prue, who a few episodes was like, or issues ago was like, I'm useless. Like, what's the point of having a useless sister? And she's the one who saved everybody. So along those same lines, like, even if you feel like everybody has something you don't, you still have something special to contribute. And hers was the most important person to be because of what she didn't have. And that was magic. She was able to save everyone.
Yeah, and that's kind of linking to mine, because Rennek, for someone who used Prue as a distraction, only to forget about her as a threat, was his fatal mistake. Mm-hmm. So mine is, don't get too big for your britches. Don't take for granted the strength of anyone, because the unassuming can surprise you. Yeah, cool. Next is onomatopoeia. So what's your favorite one of those? There's quite a few this issue.
There are so many, and I think just like for the lols of it, that I can't even say it. That would when Phoebe realizes that her powers are a bit useless, so she's got to kick this guy. Yeah. I think that is that probably gets it just for comedic effect.
Nice.
So mine is when the sisters use their magic and it gets turned back on them. It says, "Aye!" But the reason I choose that one is that shouldn't even be an onomatopoeia. They should just be saying that. But apparently it's a sound that's being made. Aye!
Yeah. It's so funny. Yeah. I'm going to do the...
I almost did that
one. Whatever. It's ZZZZPPPP. Yeah. It's just really funny.
I traded last second. I was going in between those two.
Well, now we got them both. Yeah, it's great. Most valuable panel.
This is a really tough one because I think there are some really good ones in here. Like contenders are like when they actually break through the barrier and like Phoebe's kind of like levitating above them. I really quite like that one. I think if I have to give it, there's too many. Then there's where Phoebe's like grabbing her sisters and flying them off the planet, but clearly not off the planet. I quite like when they're all tied up and there's this kind of moment when they're all thinking and connecting. But I think I will give it to Prue when she kind of becomes all powerful and gets a nice dress and a new tattoos. That's a very empowered moment, isn't it?
It really is.
So Lewis actually, mine is one of the ones you called out. Mine is when Phoebe's holding their hands. I just love that image. I love seeing like the power between the sisters. I love seeing Phoebe like have a power that's a little more useful than just her flying. Now she can fly her sisters. So this has cool implications.
Nice.
I swear I had that panel that you just described as like a background at one point on either like a Facebook banner or on the background of my phone. I can't remember, but I know I had this as like a background somewhere because I used to really like it.
I'm going to go with the one you said, Lewis, the full page Prue. Just because it's right after she's like, 4 sisters! And then she's like, ha! And it's just like really an epic, glamorous... I imagine like if it was shot, if filmed to be like a slow motion, pan up, beautiful. So now we have sexiest drawing.
Oh my God.
There's so many for you to choose from, Sean.
I've got mine.
I mean, I'm going to go to the same panel. This empowered moment, this new dress, like it does it for me.
Nice.
I'm going to go to the differently colored skin dance party over here with all these green, blue, and magenta people on this boop, boop, boop dance floor. This is so hot. This is so hot, Kevin. I love it.
I love that. That's great too. But I'm going to choose the one where Leo majestically flies up into the air
Yeah,
It's, it's just so regal, so beautiful. In his little tank top. Yeah. Now we have issue ranking. So, is this issue magically delicious, pretty witchin', a sorcerer's apprentice, disenchanting, or vanquishable?
I am going to go with magically delicious. I think this is one of the better ones. I got to be honest. I quite like it. I mean, I love a final battle. I love a power advancement. I quite like where we leave them. I like the callbacks. The only way this one is let down, and I don't want to insult anyone's work, is just by the drawings. Like the likenesses are just not great this issue, unfortunately, and I know that whoever it was tried really hard, and I think that there are some great panels on here and there's some really great visuals, but it just looks nothing like them and it changes too randomly. So yeah, that's my only drawback with this issue. Otherwise, perfection.
I'm gonna say Pretty Witchin', just because I really liked it. Something with the I don't remember, the automaton people doesn't sit well with me, only because I think Paige destroying him I don't know, she wouldn't do that. So it took it down a ranking for me. Yeah. I wish there was something where maybe Phoebe kicked one of them and she didn't realize they were fake and its arm fell off or something, and the sisters are kind of like, oh cool, we can just blast them to hell.
Yeah. There is a lot to like here. There's lots of really awesome things. The art is very scary. You're there's some of them, and it's not just Henry. There's other Elise, a little rough there too. Yeah, and these teeth and lots of weirdness. Once I got my head around the story, the things that I was questioning, I was happy that I could make sense of them. I'm like, yeah, I really had a good time. So Pretty Witchin' for me. Cool. I do have a few notes. I believe this is the last time that the power of 3 will set us free is used for the rest of the run. Yeah. And it's funny, there's actually a time in Charmed where it was in the girls' contracts that they weren't, it was in their contracts that they won't have to say that too often.
Why?
I think maybe just it's an eye roll, whatever. But
this is your bread and butter. This is your job. This is what people come to love.
But you know what? I'm a little glad about it though. You know why? Because I feel like that spell should not be a catch-all. It shouldn't be used as a crutch. It's supposed to mean something and be something very important when it does happen. So the fact that it does happen so infrequently means that it matters more.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Yeah.
Because they would eventually have to be it doesn't really work on many people anymore.
Right.
If they could just be whipping that out every 5 minutes.
Yeah. So that is the end. So I guess it's time for our Grimoire game.
Oh, no.
What is this, some kind of game?
Grimoire Games!
Some people think this is entertainment.
This week's Grimoire game, the finale game, is a whole season 9 quiz, just like we did with Hanging with the Hallowells when we finished the season.
Oh no.
It's not a long quiz, it's only 10 questions, but still, it's a quiz. So I will ask a question. Some have multiple choice, some do not. But when I ask the question, you will have to buzz in to respond, to be the first to answer. And there are opportunities for bonus points too. So we'll see. So first question. How many copies did issue number 1 sell in its first printing? 14,000, 17,000, 19,000, or 21,000.
Buzz.
Lewis.
I'm gonna say 21,000.
No.
Oh.
It's not 21,000. Sean, do you want to steal?
I'm gonna say 19,000.
No. It was actually 17,000.
Wow.
No points there. That's fine.
Whatever.
Second question. Whose funeral did Piper and Phoebe attend, and why is it significant? So there's 2 parts.
Buzz.
Lewis.
So it's Britney's, and it's relevant and important because she was kind of the first innocent, right?
Correct. 2 points.
Okay, there we go. Oh, good.
I couldn't remember her name. I know Javna killed her, but I couldn't remember her name.
Javna.
Right. Question 3. What event occurred that scared Henry? And this is multiple choice. Oh, Sean, you know the answer. Okay. Okay.
So the event that scared him is when he was under magical control. He choked Paige, and it spooked him.
Correct. Yes. The options I had were transformed a cigar, they got a dog, he choked Paige, or Phoebe hit on him. All right. This is a true or false question. This season, no vanquishes occurred in the manor.
Oh.
Sean.
I'm gonna say true.
Correct. That is no vanquishes. I forget which question this is, but how are cupids created?
Oh, jeez. You're really going to make us go there?
Buzz.
Lewis.
Isn't it from the dead babies at the funeral? They go and get the dead babies at the funeral?
Yes, the dead babies. Oh, so sad. Next question. Multiple choice. Which of the following is a character from the series that did not appear in season 9? Tyler Michaels, Max Franklin, Elise Rothman, or Marcy Steadwell?
Buzz, Marcy Steadwell.
Correct. She was mentioned, but she didn't appear.
I wonder what Marcy Steadwell's doing now.
Yeah. They said she was missing or killed last time we heard from her. But that was when they were attacking all their innocents and stuff early on.
She's working at Walmart.
Each sister gained upgraded abilities this season. Name one.
Buzz, the molecular... Oh, God, what is the thing? Acceleration? Molecular acceleration? Is that what it's called?
That's correct. Yeah, that's one. Okay. Sean, do you want to try to name another one?
Sure. Paige is able to do the orb shield.
Correct. Okay, got that one there. Okay, there's 2 more sisters. Anybody else want to have a go?
Does empathy count? Because I feel like she gets the empathy power back.
She does something special with that empathy power. It moves on to something different. I mentioned it in this episode briefly.
Oh, she's able to do the thing that she did in Morality Bites where she overwhelms them and kills them with empathy.
Yeah, the psychic reflection is what it's called. Yeah, so it's putting the emotions back on there. So all we have left is Prue, and this one is pretty straightforward, but it's probably the easiest to miss. Does anybody know what Prue's power-up was?
She levitates a car.
She flies.
I mean, you said levitates a car. That's it. Yeah.
Mm.
And flying actually could be part of it too, really, but I think that was more Phoebe's levitation. But it was advanced telekinesis, so she can lift stronger things.
Oh.
So I'm going to give each of you 2 points for that question.
Ooh.
This is a quote, and this is worth 2 points.
Oh.
So I'm going to read you the quote and then ask a question about the quote. The woman shared that power with her mate, and it changed them, made them immortal and invulnerable. It bonded them forever to one another and to the all, creating a state beyond consciousness, beyond the known universe. So who was this woman, and what plane of existence did they create?
Oh.
Sean.
It was Nina, and she created Circuit City. No, it was called the... it was like the purpley magenta place. What was it called? The Quantum Realm.
Oh.
I don't remember what it was called.
Lewis, do you know the answer?
No, I knew Nina was all I had, but
okay.
I don't know what the realm is.
Yeah, it's called the Higher Realm.
Higher Realm.
I was not going to get that.
Yeah. And technically that Circuit City spot was a failed attempt at recreating the Higher Realm, so it wasn't even the real one.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. But you got a point for Nina, so that's good. Okay. This is a multiple choice question. What issue do we first see Prue return? We have Where There's Smoke, There's a Fire Starter, The Heavens Can Wait, Family Shatters, or Prue You Gonna Call?
Buzz, the Firestarter one.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, she wasn't revealed to be Prue in that issue, but that was when she was... Oh, ma'am, oh, Sarah. White Lady Jugs. You know, that's when she was White Lady Jugs.
Lady Jugs.
So
Yep.
cool. So the final question, excluding Wyatt and Chris, tell me 2 of any of the other Charmed One's children's names. Sean.
Parker and PJ.
Yeah, that works. Okay. Can anybody name the other ones?
Melinda.
Yeah. One of Phoebe's kids hasn't been revealed yet. So we have Parker and PJ because those are the ones that were revealed. We have Melinda.
Tam and Tara? Tam and something.
Tam counts. Yeah. All right.
Henry Jr.
Yes. We're missing one twin name.
Was it not Tara?
You got Tam. Tam is short for Tamora.
What was the other one's name? That's going to really irritate me.
I'll tell you. It's Kat. K-A-T.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so let me add these up now so I can tell you who got it.
Can I just say, whoever wins, I did way better on that quiz than I thought I was going to. I'm very proud of myself. I was really worried about that. And you know what's really funny? That final question about the kids' names, I literally thought that was going to come up.
Yeah.
And I should have gone and studied for it because I was like, oh, you know what? I'd lose out on that one, but I didn't.
I think everyone did really well.
I also thought you were going to throw in a bonus question around which issue had a double panel in that had to be reprinted for some reason.
Oh. All right, so Sean, you have 9. Lewis has 7.
Oh.
So close.
So close. Not bad. Not bad.
No, that was good.
And I mean, Sean, you should have kicked my ass. You've literally done you've gone through all of them all really recently.
I was polite though. I let you answer some of that.
So we're gonna go on a little bit of a break. I'm going to Paris. Doing some things. I know, Sean, you were there last month. Now it's my turn.
You're such a copycat.
So we're gonna return April 7th for the next episode. And that will start the 2 ebooks that take place between season 9 and 10. So we'll do one April 7th, and then 2 weeks later will be the second one. And then I'm also going to be having an interview with Pat Shand coming in April, and he's the author of the season 10 comics. So that's what's coming up next. Haha.
Are you going to the convention?
I'm going to the Paris convention, yes.
Oh,
the Charmed convention.
Jealous.
Yeah, I know, crazy. And I do want to get back to London too, eventually, because
you'll only show back up here when a Charmed one comes to a convention.
No,
I know how you work.
Accurate.
I'm going to Connecticut too. I'm going to the 90s Con this coming weekend.
That looks so fun.
Lewis, tell people where they can follow you and listen to your podcast and stuff.
So we do a podcast called Bisexual Brunch. You can find that anywhere you get your podcasts. And if you're a bisexual and you need any help, I also run Ask a Bi Dad, my very own advice column, just like Phoebe.
Beautiful.
And if you want to follow me on Twitter or Instagram, it's @LouisOakes.
Ta-da. Sean?
Yeah, you can find me on Once Upon a Cult. We're wrapping up our last few episodes in the next few months. You can find me on Marvelous Galaxy of Disney. Or actually today, Kevin, where else can they find us?
On Solving for X, we are officially in season 4 of the X-Men animated series, doing that show, which is super fun. And you can follow this podcast at Words of the Witches all the places. Words of Witches on Twitter. Cool. That's where we'd be. Be sure to rate on Spotify or Apple. And yeah, we'll see you soon for the ebooks. Ta-da! Thank you for listening, Spell Worders. Bye!
Destiny
still awaits.